here's Brody Brazil.
This is a video about the F1 race in Las Vegas, Nevada that just took place over the weekend, or should I properly set it up by calling it the Formula One Heineken Silver Las Vegas Grand Prix 2024? That's a mouthful. Speaking of mouthful, did I mention sponsored by Heineken Silver? And you know what? In 2023, it was a visual spectacle. It was the very first time. The Sphere was brand new. They're running the race right next to it. They had a Grand Prix there, an F1 event decades ago, but it just wasn't the same. Now that Vegas is Vegas, I mean, yeah, the visuals of this are pretty impressive. They built that new paddock building, hundreds of millions of dollars spent by F1 to set this up and have it be an event year after year after year. They did tons of renovation and construction. It was difficult for residents of all the streets. They had to make this a proper F1 race course. They did it. And again, just from the visuals and from the amenities and some of the club areas, the optics of this, it's impressive. I mean, it took a lot of money to do this and pull it off, but like I said, the visuals alone are the impressive part. Here's the frustrating part. It takes weeks and months of setup and then eventually breakdown after the event. And they covered the Bellagio fountains. They tore down a bunch of palm trees. They built inside the Venetian pool areas there, not the swimming pools, but the pools in the front of the building. They basically changed the entire face of the Las Vegas Strip for more than a month so that they can have this race for 3 days of one weekend in November. Like, the sacrifice of that alone, it's doing and asking a lot of Las Vegas for just one weekend of, maybe sizable revenue. But what happens if this event isn't as big as it was last year? Or what happens if attendance starts declining over the years? Ben Hunt is a reporter who covers motorsports, and I'll put it like this. I mean, the pictures don't lie. And this was during the P2 second practice session. This was not on Saturday night, technically Sunday morning, for the actual proper race. This was on Friday night for one of the practice sessions. I assume it was similar on Thursday night, but the main grandstand there, not even close to full. And if you're trying to get to that 300,000 number, and you can do about 100,000 per night, you need 100 to get to about 315, like they had last year, 315,000 attendees. This isn't going to get you to that 315 number like they had last year. But there was a lot of debate and discussion about attendance. David Charnes is an investigative reporter for one of the local television stations in Las Vegas. David said attendance for this year's Formula One Las Vegas appears to be significantly lower than last year's 315,000 for 3 nights. Total attendance for the first 2 of 3 nights so far this year were 77,000 per one of David's sources. And then Adam Stern, also a reporter in the motorsports and sports business world, pointed out that F1 Las Vegas came out and said that their attendance was down a little bit, but still at 306,000, slightly down from 315,000 last year. So there's a big discrepancy, and even if they sold out the race night and it was 100,000, that would get them to 177. That's nowhere near. 177 is nowhere near 306,000 or 315,000. David followed it up after race night, Saturday night, early Sunday morning. David followed it up with this. Attendance for Saturday for Formula One Las Vegas Grand Prix as of 10:30 p.m. on Saturday night is 57,000 that night. That's 134,000 for all 3 nights. It's not even half of what F1 was saying they drew. 2023, again, 315,000 reported for the 3 days. They also claimed $1.7 billion in local economic boost and impact to Las Vegas for holding this event. And there were lots of disputes about the actual financial gains of 2023. There was no question that it was well attended in 2023, but there was question about the actual financial gains, and also a lot of question on, was it worth it? All of that construction to lead up to just one weekend. How much business was lost to have a weekend where the business was gained? Here is the special event permit application as uncovered by the website goldspins.org. They're a Las Vegas gaming and entertainment news service. Goldspins.org shows us here, circled in red, that they estimated, F1 estimated 102,000 spectators. I'm pretty sure that's per night. So what are the chances that 102 times 3 is 306. And then F1 came out and said, well, our attendance is 306,000. It's like they projected the number from the very beginning, and unless they sold out, which those photos wouldn't lead you to believe they sold out, unless they sold out, are they just making up the number that they didn't get to, but that was their projection, and they were going to announce 306,000 no matter what. All of this, plus it was documented that the Grand Prix actually lowered their ticket prices pretty significantly going into this event. Las Vegas Grand Prix CEO Renee Wilm acknowledged during Liberty Media's third quarter earnings call that ticket revenue will fall below initial Q1 projections. This follows significant price reductions across various ticket packages. Again, all of this from goldspins.org. If you want to sit in the West Harmon Grandstand, prices were reduced from last year at $1,200 to $672 this year. VIP packages last year, $2,000. This year, $1,600. Top tier packages last year, $4,600. This year, $2,600, basically $2,700. But significant reductions. So if the attendance was down, maybe they were projecting that, maybe they were feeling that already. They tried to lower the cost to get more people to come, and maybe that didn't even work. More from Goldspins here. The event's economic impact has been controversial. While Liberty Media claimed a $1.7 billion positive impact in 2023, benefits were largely limited to select casino operators. The primary beneficiaries being MGM Resorts International, Caesars, Wynn Resorts, and the Venetian. And look, that's where people attending this F1 event and the sponsorships and the vacation packages, they're all tied to those hotels mainly, so they're the ones benefiting from it. Other businesses reported negative impacts due to reduced tourism. As in, people don't want to come that weekend, the prices are higher for hotels, or they're just not busy because they're trying to avoid race weekend if they're not going to it. Clark County last year reported a $463,000 loss despite $3.8 million in tax revenue. With F1's 3-year agreement with Clark County, speculation grows about whether 2025 will be the final year for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. So here are my takeaways, and we have to begin with this. Any attendance figures or any numbers about economic benefits coming from F1, about F1, or coming from a Las Vegas Tourism Bureau about Las Vegas tourism, there will always be a conflict of interest there. The public doesn't get to open up the books on that. The public doesn't get to do the count at the turnstiles. They don't know how much revenue is taken in. Whatever is fed to you is the only information you'll get. And when there are pictures and when there is evidence that it wasn't well attended, that's all we have to go on. So you either believe F1 and Las Vegas tourism entities, or you figure this out on yourself. But there's always going to be a conflict of interest on where these numbers and where the economic benefit is coming from and how much is actually there, how much there is to it. And there's nothing to be ashamed of. Look, if it really went down from 315 to 306, if that's true, like if 315 was true and if 306 was true, there's nothing to be ashamed of there. Last year was the honeymoon period. People were curious. To have a little bit of a smaller turnout and crowd, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But it would seem like an issue if the drop-off really was this steep, possibly down 33%, 50%. Those numbers would bring some question of why was it so popular year one, or was this supposed to be just kind of a one-off event? Now you're trying to make it an annual thing. And it's not built to be an annual thing in Las Vegas, which I'm not so sure of. It's only once a year. It's not like an everyday thing. It might wear out its welcome if they held this race 5 times a year in Las Vegas, but they're only doing it once a year. Another thought here is that the F1 demographic, they probably only benefit the highest end Vegas establishment. So as they calculate all the numbers and they say, well, we did so well. We did great on this F1 weekend. Only select properties and entities did great. A lot of Las Vegas, because their business had to shut down because there's a race course in their front yard, or that they don't have a front door to their business, they have to totally change their ways, and they suffer from this. So was all of this actually worth the 6 weeks of annual construction, the build-up, the teardown, for all the other businesses besides the ones who don't benefit greatly, like like that small handful do. And again, I just question the main thing here about Las Vegas. They do one-offs spectacularly. You want to have the Super Bowl there. You want to have your NHL draft there. You want to have your one-night, one-time event. Las Vegas is great. You fly everybody in. You have the event. They have fun. They go home. But when you keep bringing them back, or in the case of pro sports teams, it's night after night after night, does it wear out its welcome? Is there too much other competition in Las Vegas alone? So that if you're trying to pull off something regularly, it's harder to do than annually, or just as a one-off. Do some recurring Vegas events, do they lose their luster because of everything else surrounding them? I don't know about F1. It would seem like this should work. Quite honestly, cost, I realize, has got to be a huge factor. Attending the first one, you had to know it was going to be expensive, but if it's going to be this cost year after year after year, maybe that's the biggest reason. And maybe cost of things in Las Vegas in general is kind of a drawback right now. So the Formula One Heineken Silver Las Vegas Grand Prix 2024, it was the second of 3 races that are guaranteed. But after that, in true Vegas fashion, kind of feels like anybody's bet. That's the end of this video. Really appreciate you making it here to the end. Thumbs up down below for that. That'll really help me, this video, and this channel. And also while you're down there, make sure you've got that subscribe button already pressed. That way I can definitely see you back here next time.